Good Wednesday morning. Larry Sprinkle here along with Chris Mulcahy. It's Wake Up Charlotte to go on a very, as far as what's going on weather-wise, a devastating morning for the people in Florida.
Yeah, we forecast these things, but it's not until you actually get within hours of this thing about to make landfall you realize that history is about to be made.
And we take a look at just this image right here is pretty dramatic when you see the satellite view right there. Well-defined eye just to the southwest of Fort Myers. Right now, it's exactly 65 miles west-southwest of Naples, Florida, moving north-northeast at 155 mile per hour. That's sustained wind speed, so they're getting gusts up to maybe 170 miles an hour. It's frightening what's going to happen in that part of Florida, just to the south of Tampa. Now, let's talk about hurricane categories. This is the newer Saffir-Simpson scale that they changed a little bit to reflect the devastation. 130 to 156. That's catastrophic. So right now, it's right in that area of catastrophic. And regardless, whether it's a category 4 or 5, that's catastrophic damage. It's just structurally, things are going to be just completely destroyed.
Putting this in perspective, we all know about Hurricane Michael that happened in 2018, and that one is a devastating storm, absolutely devastating. Or that was 2019,
yeah,
excuse me.
Yeah,
and that was a 155 mile per hour storm as well. And if you know what happened in Mexico Beach, it completely wiped out the landscape, and they actually gave it the 2 miles per hour later on to upgrade it to a category 5. We're right in that range. And it has time to strengthen.
It really destroyed everything in Mexico Beach. It was completely gone. It would be like an EF5 tornado.
Yes.
And so let's take a look and show you exactly what's happening as far as the track. It's interesting because this moves somewhere, making landfall maybe somewhere around Naples or Sarasota, south of Tampa, and moves inland. And it actually goes into the Atlantic Ocean. That's the newest track.
Not what you like to see.
No, not at all. Right off the coast of Jacksonville, and then takes kind of a dramatic turn back to the northwest, and then moves northwest across parts of South Carolina. Well, most of South Carolina, right into our part of the world. And you look at that center track, kind of takes it right across the Charlotte area. So I think, Chris, we're still going to get some very heavy winds from this. When you think about it, right now we have hurricane warnings in effect, obviously for the west coast of Florida. Then the rest of Florida, that's a tropical storm warning, and notice that extends all the way into Charleston, South Carolina. Tropical storm warning. So they're going to get some effects too. Tropical storm and a very, very high winds, storm surge. So once again,
what a monster.
Surge, that is, when you think about storm surge, Chris, that's devastation right there.
Yeah, and any storm surge isn't great. Just think about what a high tide does. If you're at the beach, how much water comes up. Now, high tide, luckily for the area, is going to be a little bit later on this afternoon, but the effects are still going to be there. Water's still going to be crashing on shore. So here's what's going on. This is the storm surge forecast. So category 4 right now. It's going to make landfall as a category 4, borderline 5. So it's the right side of the storm that is the strongest. I just did a weather IQ on that. This is the dirty side of the storm. It's because that counterclockwise rotation rushes all the water inland. And it says Charlotte right there. That says Port Charlotte. Port Charlotte is in line for some of the strongest winds. So it's the northeastern side of the landfall that usually has the strongest winds and the strongest storm surge. And that's a little inlet right there. So I know it says 9+ feet, but the storm surge warning right now pointing towards a storm surge of up to 12 feet. And I wouldn't be surprised if more than that. Think about what 12 feet is. That's well above the door. That means that the first levels of a lot of these houses are going to be completely underwater. And it's not just the water. That water is going to be blown at 130 to 140 to 150 to 160 miles per hour if you factor in the gusts.
So that's really complete destruction of structures, the storm surge, so you get the high winds, and then in addition, the rain. So 3 major factors, the amount of rainfall they're going to get, flooding, rains as well. So, I have to say that this will be historical for that part of Florida.
And for South Carolina, as you mentioned, that things are going to go back out in the Atlantic. So it's not going to be a quick death for Ian. As long as it gets that Atlantic water, before it looked like it was going to move through Georgia, that quickly would have eroded the wind speed. So one thing that's really changed from yesterday, South Carolina, you're in line for some stronger winds. So gustier winds come with this. Thank thank goodness we're on the cooler side, or else we would be looking at a big tornado possibility, widespread severe weather, and you are going to have storm surge regardless. Charleston, we know how easily it floods.
An inch of rain floods Charleston. You talk about storm surge, anywhere from, say, 3 to 5 feet. That includes like Tybee Island all the way up towards Beaufort, up towards Charleston, all the way into parts of the Grand Strand up around the Myrtle Beach area. So there's going to be effects right here on our Carolina coastline.
Yeah, and even if you have any plans and this breezes through this weekend, it is still going to be the long-lasting effect. So the flash flood threat, you can see it there. Heart over Florida the next couple of days, but by Friday, we have that high threat right around Charleston, but then also Charlotte and any surrounding areas will have that low to medium threat. And Friday, we're looking at widespread rain because at that point, tropical storm is now making its second pass into the Carolinas. So keep that in mind. So a lot to factor in. Look at this Futurecast rainfall on top of everything. 3 to 5 inches, and this is heading into Sunday morning. Some areas could see up to 6, 7 in parts of the Carolinas along the shoreline. So this is kind of a 1-2 punch. Now the second punch is much softer, but this is a historic storm. Hurricane Ian will be retired, no doubt about it. That will be the 13th ice storm to ever be retired. And it's something about those I names. And our hearts go out to Florida because there's going to be some landscapes that aren't going to be the same just hours from now.
Yeah, it's that whole area. If you think of Naples, Florida, Sarasota, all the way up towards just areas south of Tampa Bay, that's going to take a direct hit. But, almost all of Florida, and that does include Orlando. When you take Disney World and you close it down, that's going to be a serious situation. So that's the way it looks now for us. Once again, heavy rain, some gusty winds, and we'll be here to update things hour by hour all the way into the upcoming weekend and beyond. Have a great day.
Be safe, everyone.